And we got 2 attacks here. Looks like our Terran player is going to hold here with the Bio Ball and the light tank support while losing his whole main base, it looks like.
Yeah, I guess the bad part for the Terran player, ShotgunD here, is that he lost 2 out of his 3 bases and all of his SCVs except for 11. There's a lot of minerals left over. His biggest mistake here is just moving all of his SCVs to the new base, then making a third and moving all of his SCVs to that new base. Keep your SCVs spread out. You don't want to risk losing everything in one Baneling run by. And that drop wasn't really necessary there. You're not going to do a whole lot of damage. As you can see, the Zerg player easily cleans that up. The biggest problem for the Zerg player right now is that he has lost all of his tech structures. So he's not going to be producing anything, even though his economy is still fine. And on the flip side, the Terran player is not going to be producing anything because he has no economy. So right now, both players are kind of at a standstill, both of which could have been avoided, although the Terran player's standstill could have been avoided a lot more. He could have easily just defended that third base, and not only that, but spread his SCVs out, and he'd be in a very strong position right now.
Something that a lot of players tend to forget is you don't have to always play in your main. If you notice, if you take this third base, the Zerg has to run through this exact same passage right here, right by the third, to get to your main. So if you're a Terran player, set up your siege tanks here, set up your siege tanks up here and your bio army, and you'll be defending both of your bases. Now, looks like the Zerg actually using little fungal growth here, cleaning up this very light bio army. Our Zerg player is still with 2,000 minerals right now and 70 supply. What's
I don't know. I feel like the Zerg player, the Terran player, has the siege tanks up on this cliff. Well, now it's a pretty strong defense going, but before he moved the siege tanks up, before he had the bio ball up there, that was a very good fungal growth. But before this bio ball was there, those siege tanks were pretty vulnerable, and he could have ran his army up there, especially those roaches, real quick, gotten a couple shots off, taken out those siege tanks, and then ran back down. As you can see, he's thinking about doing it now. He's trying to get behind, but the problem is that's where the bio ball is.
Just something I feel like when watching a lot of lower level plays, or just not even low, just not top like high masters or diamond. It's just that people just need to work on their macro and speed of macroing. When I say speed of macro, it means that how many units can you get, by the 15-minute mark, by the 20-minute mark, how many harvesters do you have by the 10-minute mark. If you can outproduce someone in the first 10 to 15 minutes of game, you will win so much easier. There's no need for fancy micro because you have, a maxed out army and they're still sitting at, 120 or even 87 supply at 22 minutes in the game. So if you're able to force a strong macro style of play, you will win a lot of games. And you can see this bio army with the Marauders having +1/+1 in stim, easily cleaning up the roaches. And another drop coming in. Our Zerg player, I think, transferred his drones down here, which was smart, so just buying some time. Although he should have been producing units as hard as he could. Instead, he's producing Zerglings, just because they make faster.
No,
maybe. Oh, that's right. All his tech structures got taken out, so this is all he can do. While our Terran player is re-expanding, actually staying on top of his macro, pretty okay right now.
I don't think he's harvesting.
Is he actually harvesting?
No.
Not a lot of harvesting going on. You should at least drop these mules. Don't stop making SCVs until you're fully saturated. There's no reason why. You can incorporate, one SCV at a time. SCV only costs 50 minerals, so just make sure at least one is always queued up. You don't have to queue up a 5 at a time and waste 250 minerals on nothing. You can queue up 1 at a time and just stay on top of that, and you will have a lot of SCVs doing a lot of mining time with your mules.
Let's click on the blue player real quick. The
Site?
No, just one of his units. Okay, if you guys notice here, yeah, he's got his barracks all queued to 1 hotkey, and he's got his command center queued to a 2nd. But that's pretty much it. One thing to keep your macro up, you always want to have a lot of hotkeys up. I mean, he needs to have his factory on a hotkey. He needs to have his starport on a hotkey. And he should get his 2nd command center on a hotkey. Even though he's been busy microing and this battle's been going on for a long time, that doesn't mean you can't flash back to your command center or your base real quick and just make sure you have hotkeys up, make sure you're building things. It's not hard to do, especially with hotkeys. You don't even have to look away from the battle. Like, you can just hit 2 for your command center and, hit S a couple times and then go back to the battle. It's not going to kill you. You're not going to lose because of that 2 seconds that you're not focusing on that. Another thing, which a lot of players don't realize, and something I learned maybe a month, maybe 2 months ago because of Buckshot, if you hit a hotkey, if you click like this Zerg player's got his hatchery 4 on his 4 hotkey, right? If you click 4 and then you double tap the spacebar, it takes you instantly to that spot on the map. You don't have to click around on the mini map, or you can double tap 4. So if you double tap your hotkey, it'll take you to wherever that hotkey unit is. So you can hotkey your units, you can hotkey buildings, and you can just double tap the hotkey. It zooms you over to that spot, and that makes macroing a lot easier at the same time as well.
I think there's definitely something I heard. I was watching a Husky StarCraft video, and I'm sure a lot of you watched that. But there's something he said was you have to learn to incorporate your macro into your micro. If you think about it, if you have all your buildings hotkeyed, so say you have all your barracks on 4, while you're microing your units, if you just press 4 and then press A a bunch of times for Marines, your sight won't change. You won't zoom over to your barracks. You'll still be looking here, and then you just tap A a couple times. You'll start building Marines, and that is essentially micro. You don't necessarily need to go all the way back to your base and scroll over and then scroll all the way back. That can be bad if you're fighting, but if you hotkey, you're fine. Looks like our Zerg player here getting some Mutalisk out somehow. I have no idea how he got I guess because he has so much minerals saved up. But with 2,000 minerals and the Terran player being passive, he should really expand here. And also our Terran player, I guess because our Terran player, since he never really mined out these bases at all, he can kind of actually sit back on these 2 bases. But with 1,000 minerals himself, he should expand here, re-expand to gold. And it looks like we have a small roach force trying to push out here just to poke what's going on. But this is a very hefty bio ball with 1-1 against 0-0 roaches and only about less than 24 of them. And a good burrow there. So we should see a scan. And he has his command centers on a hotkey. All he has to do is press 2, C, and click. And that's all he has to do. And he will kill. Oh, there's the scan. A little late, so make sure you have your hotkeys, and that makes it a lot quicker. And now he's actually doing some light tank harass here, which is exactly what he needs to do. Just do anything. Oh, but don't fight those Marines. You can see how quickly Stim Marines kill Mutalisk. Keep your Mutalisk away from Marines. You should never fight Marines head on with Mutalisk. There's almost no reason to, unless you have that critical mass.
Yeah, so as you can see, throughout this entire game, there's been quite a few mistakes. Mostly macro. A couple micro mistakes, but not too many. It's mostly just macro and SCV/drone placement. Making sure you're spreading out your SCVs, making sure you're macroing, making sure you're paying attention to what your bases are doing, and just remembering the small things, like remember to spread out your SCVs and not just have them all be at one base, because all they need to do is roll in a couple banelings and you're toast. So as you can see, Blue's got tanks up on the high ground here. He could pretty easily pull his army back and take out Red's force there, and then he'd have the game won. Instead, he's being a little bit more risky. He's kind of going for a base trade, more or less, except Red has stopped attacking, and he has a Banshee up there, so Red would never actually win. All Terran would have to do is keep scanning. So yeah, all those spines going down, but Stimmed Marines with Medivacs, they're going to take this out pretty easily. So this game's pretty much over. ShotgunD is going to win, and he did it by being able to just sit back on those 2 bases. He probably could have ended the game sooner, but he let it draw out a little bit, just sitting back on his 2 base, content with the fact that he knew that he had taken out all of the Zerg tech structures and that he was in a pretty good spot. But he could have won this game a lot sooner and been in a lot better of a spot if he would have had his SCVs spread out and he would have just stayed on top of his macro while he was fighting. As Buckshot was just saying earlier, all it takes is hitting 1, holding down A for a little bit, and then, if you have your units on hotkey as well, you click 1, you hold down A, then you click your unit hotkeys. You don't even have to move your camera ever, as long as you have your hotkey set up. And as soon as you build a building, just hotkey it, and you're ready to go.
So definitely a lot of things that, this player, ShotgunD, obviously grasped him. He won this game, but to take your plate, if you want to try to advance to the next league, my advice to every player trying to move out of bronze who thinks they're a forever bronze player, or just really trying to get into any level, higher level of play, macro will take you, good macro will take you to the platinum and diamond level, no question about it. If you can macro if you can get your macro down and your timings down, that will take you there, because you will be amazed at how fast you can conjure up an army. And then once you have that down, then learn your micro, then learn, you know, your siege tank placement, your marines against your bailings, and really stuff like that. So this has been StarCraft 2 EDU. Send us your videos and we will cast them. Thanks.
Thank you.